What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. Hope you're happy, safe, healthy. Want to wish you a very happy hump day. It is Wednesday, July the 30th, 2025. One more day until football is officially back in our lives. The Hall of Fame game obviously kicking off on Thursday. I know that we're going to lose interest I don't know, 10 minutes in, but it's still going to be awesome. It's still going to be amazing. It's still going to be thrilling to watch a full football game. I've got wings that I'm going to put on the smoker. I'm going to make this like honey sauce. Shout out to my guy, Matt Pittman at Meat Church. He has an amazing recipe I've done before. I'm going to try to make, if you've ever been, this isn't an ad, but if you've ever been to Pluckers, they have these things that my wife and I love. They're called tachos. For those unaware, they're tater tots with like the fixings of nachos, basically. So I'm going to try to make those. It's going to be an awesome time, a rip-roaring good time. We talk about food, family, lifestyle, and obviously the Dallas Cowboys here on the Blog on the Boys YouTube channel. So if you haven't yet, please like the video. Please subscribe. I'm here all the time. Got videos coming out all the time. It's football season. You want to be here. We are here talking America's team. So like the video. You can follow me on any level of social media. The links to my X profile, Instagram, Threads, Facebook page, LinkedIn profile. I don't know if the LinkedIn profile is down in the description, but either way, the links to all those things down in the description below if you want to hang out with me on any kind of social media. Also, I got a lot of questions about the hat that I was wearing in one of my recent videos here. You've obviously seen a lot of Cowboys wearing them in Oxnard at training camp. Shout out to my friends at Classic Cowboy. They make this fantastic lid. You can see the CC there on the side. Not an ad. I'm just a fan of the product. And I think where it comes from for me, and I think this is helpful context, I say this all the time, but when I was growing up and I was in high school, there weren't as many outlets or avenues to talk about the Cowboys, certainly, but even to consume Cowboys content. And I remember vividly, you would see a picture or a video or something, and you would say, what is that hat or what is that shirt or what is that whatever that my favorite player is wearing? I want it. And you would assume it would be something you could buy at a massive store, but it wasn't. It was an exclusive thing, or it was an off-brand thing, whatever. We live in a day and age with so many opportunities. But the reason I'm telling you, what this is and putting the link in the description for you is because I've gotten a lot of questions about it, but also because those are the types of things I cared about. And I've always followed that kind of North Star for me in my career in terms of letting my fanhood drive what I do. So if you're looking for this cap, I cannot recommend it enough. I have two. I've got the navy one and the white one. It is up, see if I could point to it. It's very difficult to do right there. It's white with a navy lid, so almost the exact reverse of this. But shout out to Classic Cowboy. Shout out to you. It is Wednesday, July the 30th. As noted, the Cowboys back in action. Haven't had a full video. We've had some smaller ones since the Tyler Guyton scare. By now, you're well aware of what happened. Obviously, there was the 30 minutes where we thought his ACL was torn. Didn't turn out to be that. He's only going to miss 4 to 6 weeks. I say only in air quotes, not to Stephen Jones it, but just because, we're excited that it's only 4 to 6 weeks, but it's still 4 to 6 weeks. So it was good news, but also still not great news, but ultimately great news in terms of it not being devastating news. What we're here to discuss today is I had a very difficult time verbalizing this. I had the idea in my head and I couldn't quite figure out the words that I wanted to use to describe it, which is difficult given that I talk for a living and write for a living. But hopefully this makes sense. So these are my takeaways, 3 strong takeaways about the Cowboys to this point in camp. And what I mean by strong takeaways is these are things that I hold high levels of conviction in. These are things that I really believe after what we've seen so far in camp. And it's dangerous, obviously, to say I really believe this after what's it been 9-10 days of camp so far in Oxnard. So nobody's trying to make a crazy conclusion or have a giant leap towards something, but these are things that I feel very, very, very confident in, that maybe I already kind of felt one way about, but the training camp has kind of locked into place or amplified to a certain degree. So let's go ahead and get to it. Number one for me, somebody who will be important is not on the team right now. And then I've hedged my own statement here, my own takeaway by saying potentially / probably. You may have seen that during his press conference on Wednesday, Brian Schottenheimer was talking about just kind of the battle of attrition that an NFL season is relative to a roster. The Cowboys obviously at the moment dealing with a lot of injuries. And he said, look, our goal is to play 20 games this year, which is obviously getting to the Super Bowl. Oh, Cowboys not going to be in the Super Bowl. Whatever. Again, it's the plan, it's the goal, it's the dream. And so Shadi obviously talking about we're going to lose guys along the way. Guys are going to get hurt. We're going to have players playing down the roster. He said, and he's trying to talk these things out. His plan, verbalize his plan. He said somebody's going to play in the Super Bowl. Somebody's going to be important in the Super Bowl who may not even have been on the roster when we kind of got to Oxnard. And that is so true. We look at teams all the time that make it to the Super Bowl and their rosters, there have been all sorts of turnover, changes, modifications, et cetera, et cetera. And so we can look at who the Cowboys have right now in Oxnard and we can say, oh, for sure. But the reality is there is probably somebody who is maybe not even an Oxnard at this point, to Shadi's point, that is going to be a significant contributor to this team. Now, I don't know what position that necessarily is. If I had to take a stab at it right now, I would say it's either probably a corner, right? Especially what with all the injuries that are happening there, or the injuries the Cowboys arrived to Oxnard with Trayvon Diggs and Savon Ravel. And we're using the word injuries loosely there. Their injuries aren't new, but you get my point. But maybe a corner is that answer. I think if you had told me this, that I would have this takeaway a month ago, I would have said that it's going to be running back. With all due respect to Brian Schottenheimer, I guess Brian Schottenheimer, but to everybody, I don't know that the Cowboys have a running back that's going to really, to use some Jones parlance, be a straw that stirs the drink right now, right? And some of that, I think that Brian Schottenheimer has done a great job of contextualizing things as camp has gone on. He has said, that at this point, right, you might be watching this on Thursday, or maybe you're catching this after the fact if it's landed in your algorithm then. But at the point that we're talking right now, the Cowboys have had 2 padded practices. And prior to the first one, Schottenheimer talked about how he was excited about watching the running backs because you can't quite get a feel or a vision on running backs before pads go on, because so much of what happens, is about contact and running through contact and after contact, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's a great point. And so maybe we're just not quite at the point in things where we can really draw a hard conclusion about this. But ultimately, I remain very confident, and this isn't even necessarily a Cowboys thing, but I feel very, very, very confident that somebody who is going to play a vital role on the Dallas Cowboys roster in this season is not on the roster at this moment in time. We've seen that in the past. Malik Hooker is one of the kind of leaders of this Dallas Cowboys defense. He was a training camp addition. The Cowboys signed Malik Hooker a couple of years ago when they were in Oxnard. So who is that person this year? I don't know, but I would certainly love to hear your suggestions for who it should be at the very least. So takeaway number 2, strong takeaway number 2 for me. And I kind of danced around it, which is why I felt guilty, but running the ball seems to be very important. And once again, I've hedged myself and said, at least theoretically. Brian Schottenheimer had a quote on Wednesday. I almost said Monday, but on Wednesday, that if you have children listening, you may not want them to hear. So let's go ahead and put this up on your screen. He was talking about physicality. He was asked by Patrick Walker of DallasCowboys.com about the first 2 teams who the Cowboys are going to play this season. Obviously, Philadelphia and New York. They have some stout defensive fronts. And he was asked about kind of attacking that and what life is like when you're playing elite defensive fronts like that. And he said at the end, he had a long answer, but he kind of summarized it by saying, at the end of the day, the best thing you can do for any offensive line, any team offense, when you're playing elite defensive linemen, is pound the freaking football, man. Just freaking try to shove it up their ass. And that's what we're going to try and do. We're going to be physical. Brian Schottenheimer is a very, very, very unique head coach, ladies and gentlemen. I fully believe that the Dallas Cowboys have every intent to pound the ball, to run the freaking ball, to use Brian Schottenheimer's own words. I have doubts about their ability to do so at the moment. And that isn't even necessarily related to the Tyler Guyton injury. But do you think that they have the personnel right now to be able to pound the ball? That's something that is somewhat, that dependent upon a variety of factors that go into a given game. So you can't sit here and say they definitely can't do it right now, but it is hard to see, right? It is hard to see that vision. It is hard to see what that looks like right now, right? What does running the ball even look like for this Dallas Cowboys team? Their offensive line is promising but young. Their running back room is full of question marks, and that's not a bad thing, but they're full of unknowns. We don't exactly know what Javonte Williams or Miles Sanders or Jaden Blue or Phil Maffa are as far as Dallas Cowboys. All 4 of those players are brand new. None of those players have played a game for the Dallas Cowboys. And that isn't to say, watch out, this is going to be terrible. What it's saying is, I understand the goal is to pound the ball, not in an archaic way. We're going to run the ball, play action, set up the pass and all this stupid stuff. we understand that you want to run the ball. We believe you that you want to run the ball. All we're saying is, what does this look like? Because it's difficult for us to close our eyes and imagine, which is why we're so excited to get some preseason games out here so we can start to put together the overall puzzle. It is running the ball has been a challenge for the Cowboys, or I wouldn't even say a challenge, but a ride for the Cowboys, right? Because, you know, we we've seen this team swing from one end of the spectrum to the other. Are we going to give our running? We're going to take our running back with the 4th overall pick, give him $90 million, do nothing at all. And, you know, now we've got some dudes, right? I guess I didn't line up the spectrum properly, right? Like 4th overall, $90 million, nothing at all, etc. Now they're not quite in the middle, but they're closer to the middle, right? They've got some competent NFL quality players in the backfield finally. But I don't know. I'm very interested. I'm not even panicked. Like, I don't mean this to come across like I'm nervous or I'm scared or anything like that. I'm just very curious what this is going to look like, because right now I don't think we have any idea, but I digress. So that was my strong takeaway number 2. Strong takeaway number 3, and it's not just because I'm a Florida Gator, but it is something that I continue to develop more and more conviction in. Kaiir Elam might actually have been the most important offseason acquisition. And I worded it like this because I assume that you have watched every piece of content that I have created over the offseason, right? You're a loyalist. You have been here from day one. When the Blog and the Boys videos drop, when I tweet, you get the notifications, the push alerts, you check it out, right? Like, you don't have to say yes. I know it to be true. That being said, something that I have been saying all offseason, a way I've hedged a statement in the past, was that Kaiir Elam had the potential to be the most important offseason acquisition for the Cowboys, with the understanding that George Pickens exists in his own tier. I think I'm willing to remove that label now, that hedge, that qualifier, and that isn't anything to do with George Pickens. I think George Pickens is going to be phenomenal. I've already apologized to you all. I've already said all the things I'd have to say. I've done my Cersei walk of shame, right? We've been through all of that. I just really am starting, and some of it is circumstantial, right? Like George Pickens can be an amazing player for the Dallas Cowboys and still not have been the most important offseason acquisition that they made. On Wednesdays, the Cowboys are practicing. Shout out to Joe Hoyd of the Dallas Morning News for this note here. Just reading Joe's tweet word for word. The 2 starting corner combos I've seen for the Cowboys today, this was Wednesday again, are contingent on DaRon Bland's position. When DaRon Bland is outside, him, Kaiir Elam, and Keeman Hall are in the slot, talking about Elam playing outside. When Bland is in the slot himself, you've obviously got Elam, playing on the outside with Troy Pride Jr., and DaRon Bland is in the slot playing nickel, etc. So we know here that Kaiir Elam is kind of a staple as far as outside corners are concerned. And we know the Cowboys have at least a willingness to try or to go down the road of DaRon Bland playing in the slot. I think if we all close our eyes and I tell you, okay, Trayvon Diggs healthy, what does this defense look like? You tell me, well, Trayvon Diggs is playing outside, and that means DaRon Bland's probably playing inside. DaRon Bland probably playing inside. It's a very difficult sentence to say out loud. And so what I mean by all this is even if George Pickens develops into an amazing player for the Cowboys, he's certainly going to help. He's certainly going to take things to a new level, right? The fact that Kaiir Elam is helping establish, not even raise, but establish a floor for the Cowboys cornerback situation, which right now is obviously a bit hazardous. You've got Trayvon Diggs on PUP. You've got Savon Ravel on the NFL list. You've got Kalen Carson with the 4 to 6 week injury. Kaiir Elam is kind of the point of stability for the Dallas Cowboys cornerback room. And all this is said with no dramatic flair at all, because we're still in training camp time. Their full preseason isn't even here yet. But that being said, that the Kaiir Elam trade brought stability to one of the most important position rooms across the entire roster is sort of proof positive that he is, or has the potential to be, the most important offseason acquisition that this team made. He is turning out to be a vital piece of what they're doing. And so that he was found for a day 3 compensatory pick is extremely good work by the front office. And kudos to Kaiir Elam. Go Gators, baby. I'm super happy to see this development for him. I'm sure he's working hard. Obviously, we've been talking about this a lot, but there's no doubt in my mind, I'm willing to say it without any kind of qualifier, that I believe Kaiir Elam could wind up being the most important offseason acquisition that the Cowboys made across this past offseason. It's very exciting, certainly. And look, I mean, I know we all like to see these stories when players kind of work hard and turn themselves into something that maybe other teams thought they weren't. Obviously, in this case, that would be Buffalo, and I'm not throwing shade. I'm not even saying Kaiir Elam is throwing shade himself, but that's just kind of the way this whole thing goes. So those are my 3 strong takeaways about the Cowboys to this point in training camp. But I would love to hear what yours are. I would love to hear what your thoughts are. As always, you can like the video, subscribe, tell me in the comments down below, or when you're down in the comments below, before you get there, you can follow the links in the description to check out any one of my social profiles, Instagram threads at RJ Ochoa, TikTok is RJ.Ochoa. Head to my Facebook page, follow me on LinkedIn. Email is rj.ochoa@sbnation.com. That is me. I'm RJ Ochoa. I hope you have yourselves a wonderful rest of your day. I can't wait to hang out with you soon. And yeah, football coming back on Thursday. Thanks so much for hanging out, everybody. We'll see you next time.